The air, thick with rose water and simmering ambition, clung to the velvet. You stand here, don't you? Behind this pillar, where light struggles, where truest stories unfold not in pronouncements, but in a flicker, a tremor. We begin not with a shout, but with a silence so profound it aches. A silence pregnant with doom. Look closely at the scene. The Sultan's chamber, a tapestry of power woven with betrayal. These very stones, you must understand, remember every drop of blood, every whisper of poison. They have witnessed dynasties rise and fall, not by the sword alone, but by desire's insidious work. She moved through the opulence, a figure cast in moonlight amidst blazing torches. Silk rustled, a soft accusation against the marble. Her face, a study in veiled strength, betrayed nothing to the sharp-eyed eunuchs, the ambitious wives. But then, across the gilded hall, through the haze of incense, a glance. A single, fleeting brush of sight. His eyes, dark as the Sultan's deepest secrets, met hers. And in that instant, a silent whisper passed between them, a language older than any decree. It spoke of a hunger, raw and undeniable, a forbidden dance already begun. Did you feel it? That sudden, chilling shift in the air? The very breath caught. For in their gaze, reflected back, was not only the intoxicating promise of passion, but the unmistakable, glinting blade of the executioner. This was no burgeoning romance, my friends. This was the opening chapter of a fatal mistake, inscribed not in ink, but in the very fabric of their bloodline. A mistake that would cost more than all the treasures hoarded by this ancient dynasty. That single, fleeting connection, born within these treacherous walls, had already signed their verdict. A feeling, bright and deadly as a viper's kiss, had found its root. And in that shared shadow, a future of irreversible ruin began to unfurl, silently, inexorably. Look closer, beyond the shimmer of the gold leaf and the deep luster of the emeralds, past the intricate mosaics that tell tales of ancient victories. Do you truly see it? This isn't merely a palace. It is a gilded cage, a stage where every breath is measured, every glance a coded missive, every rustle of expensive fabric a potential signal in a silent war. The air, heavy with the intoxicating scent of rosewater and jasmine, carries something far more potent, the sweet, cloying odor of fear, a silent, constant hum beneath the lavish tapestries and vaulted ceilings. Understand this, my dear. In these hallowed halls, where the Sultan's word is absolute law, it is not the Sultan alone who commands the tides of destiny. It is the women, veiled in their finery, who weave the tapestries of fate, their threads often unseen, their patterns intricate and deadly. These are not merely figures on a chessboard to be moved at will, but the grandmasters themselves. Their beauty, a weapon sharper than any blade. Their smiles, a mask for intentions darker than the deepest dungeon. Their silence, a roar of ambition. The very silk that whispers against their skin. The silks of Bursa, of China, of Persia, woven with such artistry that they seem to breathe, could just as easily be the shroud of a rival or the binding for a secret plot. And the sherbet, sweet with honey and fruit, offered with such exquisite grace from bejeweled chalices, how often has it masked the bitter, burning sting of poison? Such is the reality in this realm, where a gentle hand can deliver a fatal blow, and a whispered compliment can precede a ruinous betrayal. Here, every luxury holds a hidden danger, every comfort a potential trap. Power, naked and insatiable, is the only God worshipped here. Not Allah, not mercy, but the raw, unyielding force to shape a dynasty, to secure a bloodline. And in this crucible of ambition, where shadows lengthen with every rising sun, what chance has innocence? None. There is only survival. Only the cunning, the ruthless, the strategists survive the ceaseless tides of envy that crash against these walls, threatening to engulf all within. Every corner hides a watchful eye, every ornate grating the keen gaze of a spy. The lavish decorations are a deceptive facade. The silence here is not peace. It is the terrifying, held breath before the strike, the quiet before the storm breaks. And yet, amidst this glorious, terrifying theater of human ambition, a fragile, forbidden flower dares to bloom. A love, beautiful in its defiance, poisonous in its very existence. Can you imagine the sheer audacity, or perhaps the tragic folly, required for such an act? To find solace, to seek connection, when every touch is a risk, every shared secret a potential death sentence, and even a fleeting moment of tenderness can lead to the executioner's axe? It is here, in the heart of this relentless game, where women, queens, concubines, mothers, vie for the ear of the Sultan, for the future of their sons, for the very soul of the empire, that such a love must take root. A love born not of gentle meadows and soft whispers, but of steel, of shadows, and of the stark, undeniable truth that in this palace of silk and poison, survival is the grandest prize, and sacrifice its most common currency. Witness its birth, for it shall shake the very foundations of this world, threatening to unravel the carefully constructed power of this ancient dynasty. The game has begun. You think you know silence, don't you? The hush of a winter dawn, the stillness of a grave. But here, within these gilded cages, silence is a living, breathing thing. It wraps itself around secrets, thicker than any velvet, softer than any silk. It promises sanctuary, whispering that what is hidden will remain so. A dangerous promise indeed. For in this court, the grandest illusion is that anything can truly stay hidden. It begins, as all grand downfalls do, with something infinitesimally small. A flicker in a distant lamp, illuminating a fleeting gesture. A hand, reaching, then retracting, leaving behind not just a memory, but a whisper of linen, scented with a forbidden rose. Perhaps it was a scarf, slipped from a hurried grasp, its delicate embroidery a tale only a few could read. Or perhaps it was merely the lingering ghost of a touch, a gaze held for a breath too long across a crowded hall where every shadow had eyes and every whisper carried weight. The palace walls, my dear, they do not just hold secrets, they absorb them, a sponge soaking up the deepest dyes of human folly and desire. And then, when the moment is ripe, when the air grows heavy with suspicion, they begin to sweat them out. A crack appears, a hairline fracture in the grand facade of order. And through that fissure, a single, damning truth begins to seep. Imagine a message, meant for eyes alone, sealed with the intimacy of wax, pressed with the unique signet of a lover's hope. Now, picture that seal, not merely broken, but shattered. Not opened with care, but ripped, its fragments scattered like the pieces of a trust utterly destroyed. The culprit? Not always a villain in black, but often a ghost of fear, a specter of ambition, or the insidious venom of envy finding its way into a loyal heart, twisting it until it serves only itself. The whispers begin as a breeze rustling through the tapestries, then grow into a gale, tearing at the very fabric of the dynasty. A question posed in the harem baths, a lifted eyebrow in the divan, a sudden chill in the sultan's gaze. The air itself grows thin, choked with unspoken accusations. Bloodline, once a sacred bond, becomes a leash, straining, ready to snap. For when forbidden love dares to bloom in the shadow of the executioner, every relative, every servant, every confidant is forced to choose. Will they shield the lovers, risking their own neck? Or will they betray, hoping to climb higher on the very backs of those they once called kin? This is where the game turns. No longer a delicate dance of veiled intentions, but a brutal, desperate scramble for survival. The stakes, once measured in jewels and favor, are now counted in severed heads and poisoned cups. Loyalty, a luxury few can afford, becomes a burden that weighs heavier than any crown. And fear, my dear, fear is the sharpest blade, cutting through family ties, through solemn vows, through the very essence of human decency. It compels a sister to denounce a brother, a son to betray a mother, all to save their own skin, all to ensure their own precarious foothold in this treacherous land. The palace, once a sanctuary of power, transforms into a hunting ground. Every smile becomes a mask, every gift a potential trap. The silence that once promised protection now screams of impending doom. And as the truth, sharp and unforgiving, pierces the heart of this gilded world, you will see it, won't you? The beginning of the bloody harvest. The moment when the forbidden love, once a source of warmth and defiance, becomes the very reason for the dynasty's fracturing, leaving behind only the cold, hard choice: sacrifice or perish. Which will they choose? The air in this chamber, ladies, it hangs heavy, doesn't it? Thick with the cloying scent of jasmine and something far less sweet, the lingering promise of finality. A silence has fallen, deeper than any prayer, colder than the marble beneath my feet. From my vantage point, here, behind this ancient, sculpted pillar, I see the stage set for a reckoning. Every gilded carving, every flicker of lamplight seems to hold its breath. Look closely at the tableau before them. A crystal cup, gleaming with the ruby promise of chilled sherbet. Innocuous, isn't it? A simple refreshment offered in the stifling heat. But in this court, even a drop of sweetness can hide the most bitter of ends, the most insidious form of justice. And beside it, resting on a cushion of midnight silk so dark it seems to absorb the light, lies a blade. Polished to a mirror sheen, its cold edge whispers tales of duty, of an ancient bloodline that demands its pound of flesh. A swift, brutal grace, or a slow, agonizing surrender. This, my dear ones, is the moment. The very pivot upon which a dynasty turns. A forbidden love shatters into a million irreparable pieces. For one path offers the swift, clean release of steel. A mercy for those who have dared to defy the unwritten laws of succession. The other? A slow fading, a quiet surrender to the silent kiss of poison, designed not just to extinguish a life, but to erase the very memory of a defiant, illicit embrace. Which choice, I ask you, would you make, knowing both lead to the same desolate shore of oblivion? Every breath drawn in this suffocating space is a testament to an unbearable loss, a decision crafted in the crucible of absolute power, where sentiment is a weakness. This is not merely the tragedy of two hearts caught in the grand, merciless machinery of empire. No, this is the stark, brutal face of survival, of the game of queens played on the grandest stage. The Sultan's eye, steady and unblinking, holds the crushing weight of generations, of a legacy that must be preserved above all else. He understands that for the dynasty to endure, love, especially the kind that threatens the established order, must be purged with ruthless efficiency. It is a lesson learned through centuries of whispered betrayal, etched into the very stones of this palace, practiced in the deepest shadows of every gilded corridor. Who truly benefits from this ultimate sacrifice? The answer, always, is the same. Those who remain. The powerful, the ruthless, the ones who understand that the price of their station is paid in the currency of others' despair, their blood staining the very foundations of the throne. The tremor in a hand, the almost imperceptible flicker in an eye. These are the only tells in this deadly, silent game. No screams will echo here. No desperate pleas will be heard to shatter the suffocating tension. Only the soft rustle of silk, perhaps a final, ragged breath. Then, nothing. Just the profound, absolute, suffocating silence. A silence so potent, so absolute, it screams louder than any condemned soul ever could. And in that silence, a new chapter of blood and ambition, of brutal survival, is quietly, irrevocably written. The dynasty endures, but at what cost? The silence in these halls, it is not peace. No, it is the heavy shroud of memory pressed into the very stones beneath your feet. Can you not feel it, the ancient pulse? Each polished marble slab, each gilded archway, they absorb more than light. They drink in whispers, tears, the very essence of forgotten breaths. For centuries, these walls have stood witness, silent keepers of a dynasty's true ledger. They tell no tales aloud, these walls, but their testament speaks volumes of survival. A survival forged in betrayal, sealed with poison, draped in the finest silk stained by ambition. What cost, you ask? Look closer, beyond the surface of triumph. The bloodline continues, yes, but carries the weight of every sacrifice, every secret, every illicit touch. Scars, invisible to the eye, are etched into the souls of those who walk these corridors now. The echoes of a forbidden love that burned too bright, leaving only ash and regret. The palace breathes, life continues, yet the scent of that doomed passion lingers, a phantom perfume. The shadow of the executioner, it never truly lifts from this court. He is the eternal promise, a silent decree awaiting command, ready to sever the threads of desire, of defiance. For even as one forbidden love is buried, another takes root, deep in the fertile soil of vulnerability, amidst the cold calculus of power. This is not a final judgment, my friends, merely another turn of the page. The chronicle of this palace, of these queens and their kings, it stretches on, a tapestry woven with threads of endless ambition and the fragile, defiant beat of a human heart. Thus you hear? It is merely the pause before the next whisper, the next conspiracy, the next forbidden bloom.